Prabhuji, I have started recording.
Okay. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we covered till verse number 7 from the chapter 6. So today we'll be continuing from verse number 8. We'll have prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamadam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्ण. We are beginning text 8. स इत्थम् आदिश्य सुराञ्जस्तुते समन्वितः पितृभिः सप्रजेशे ययो स्वदेष्ण्यान् निलयं पुरद्विष कैलासमद्रिप्रवरं प्रियं प्रभो.
Thus instructing all the demigods, the Pitas, and the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahma took them with him and left for the abode of Lord Shiva, known as the Kailas Hill.
So here in this 6th chapter we find, as we have discussed this verses till verse 8, this is something wherein demigods they approach Lord Brahma, and whatever happened, the whole thing, they need now help because they are in trouble. So this is a regular phenomena wherein we see that yes, whenever they are in trouble they approach authority, and that is even though they are in trouble, but then it is good that they approach authority and they follow the proper system. But then asurastad viparyaha, those who are demons, they don't follow any authority. And that's why we find here, as these demigods they are approaching Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma is telling them, yes, there is no question of happiness when you offend a great personality. And now here in this verse we saw how Brahma is taking this demigods to Kailash, as it is mentioned. So Prabhupada says in purport, the abode of Lord Shiva, which is known as Kailash, is described in the 14 verses which follow. कैलासम वर्णयति जन्म औषधि इत्यादि चतुर्षभिः चतुर्दशभिः, that is in 14 verses. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. Next line. जन्मौषधि तपो मंत्र योग सिद्धे नरेतरे जुष्टम किन्नर गंधर्वे अप्सरोभिवृतं सदा.
The abode known as Kailash is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus, the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives, who are known as Apsaras or angels.
Yeah, so as it is mentioned earlier, that 14 verses there will be this description about Kailash. So there will be description of beautiful birds, plants, herbs, animals, demigods. So all that we'll see here in sequence. Wherever you find that there is some explanation needed, you can tell accordingly. We discuss it and then proceed. Suryakan Krishna Prabhu.
Puruji, I have one question here. The
Yes.
Kinnars and Gandharvas, are they part of the 4 lakh million pieces of human life? Actually,
Yeah.
based on the description here, it looks like they're celestial persons. But the word
Yeah.
Kinnar here is used in a very wrong way. So can you elaborate on that?
What you said? Wrong way.
I think here, like at least here, to Kinnar is referred to people who are like neither man nor woman. But here, based on the description of the Shastras, it looks like they're celestial persons.
Yeah. So what means like? What is the problem?
See, what people say here and what is described in the Shastra don't match. So I wanted to
Here
understand,
it
like,
is just mentioned clearly that besides them,
hmm,
that like those who are residents of this abode, besides them, there are other
hmm,
human beings. So they are just mentioning this Kinnaras are there, Gandharvas are there, and
okay,
further Yakshas, all that description will come. So this
okay,
Kinnaras and Gandharvas clearly mention as yes, they are other human beings, that yes, they are part of, as you said, 4 lakh species of human beings, from starting from
okay,
ordinary human being to Lord Brahma.
okay, okay. Yeah, thank you.
So exactly what is the problem in understanding? Means what was that you feel that yes,
No, I just
Kinnaras should
wanted to
not be
confirm whether
mentioned?
the part, main question was whether they're part of 4 lakh million species and then like they are in higher order, consider like we as ordinary human beings. So they are in
Yes,
upper
yes, they are
position.
higher
That's what I
order.
wanted to
That is
confirm.
true. Yes, that is true.
Okay, okay, that's wanted to confirm. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Text in नानामणिमये शृंगे नाना धातु विचित्रिते नाना द्रुमलता गुल्मे नाना मृग गणावृते.
Kailash is full of mountains filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer.
So here we'll see if there is some explanation as Praji is expecting. Just see if there is something. शृंगे रमणं रतिप्रदं उत्तरेण अन्वयम्. So Kadambutena. So they are explaining how there are various types of dhatus, nana dhatu bhi vichitrite. and it is filled with all those kinds of various kinds of dhatus. Nana Drumalata Gulmascha Eshu, and there are various kinds of this creepers. Okay, I think this is 11th verse. They are explaining about Kridantam. Okay, that we'll see in next verse. Text 11. Nanamala prasravanai nana kandarasanu Ramanam viharantinam ramane siddhayoshitam.
There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found.
Yeah. So now this is uh, some explanation is there by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You just see it. Sridhar Swami, Sri Bhagavad Acharya Goswami. Okay, Vishwanath Chakravarti. रमणै कांतै सह विहरन्तीनां सिद्धयोषितां रमणो रतिपदम. So these ladies, they are kantai, as we say Kamala Kanta, Rama Kanta. So the Kanta is referring to their husbands. So these all ladies, they are enjoying viharantinam along with their husbands. Those who are Siddha Yoshitam. So these ladies, they are the wives of these perfected beings. And that's why here it is mentioned Ramanam Rati Pradam. Next one. Mayurakekabhirutam madandhali vimurchitam lavitay raktakanthanam kujitaischa patatrinam.
On Kailash Hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. Prabhuji, this is
Mayuran.
yeah,
Yes, Mataji.
this is Kailash on the earth.
Kailash on the earth. Yes, it is not, yes, it is Kailash on the earth only. But then, as we know, Himalayas, this rain actually is beyond access to ordinary human beings. If you speak of Kailash, that is, as we discuss about beyond Devi Dham, that is not the place. This is on the earth only. Can someone say the reason?
Why it is not accessible?
Yeah, because this is actually the pastime is taking on in the inside universe in relation with Daksha, and they are not going outside the universe. So there is no question of going beyond, like no, beyond Devi Dham, the Kailash which you are referring. So it is inside universe only. Is it clear, Mataji, what I am saying?
Maybe it is on this earth only, not on our planet.
Yeah. That's why I said that the Kailash in general, we refer to Devi Dham, and sequentially topmost is Golok Dham. But then it is not beyond Devi Dham, it is inside only. Is it clear? Shobha Lakshmi Mataji?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so as it is said, Mayuranam keka eva abhito rutani grihasthanam ivokti pratyukti kolahala yattatam madandhanam inam gayakanam iva murchitani ragaswara lapa murchana yatra tam rakta kanthanam. Okay, so as here it is, they are nicely mentioned how this various birds, their chirping and all that is mentioned. So Mayura Keka. So in general we hear this peacocks, their sound is that is referred as uh, their cry. So if you hear how peacocks cry, that's why it is referred as Mayura Keka. Madandhali Vimurchitam. And we get to see how they are intoxicated, or like the sound of humming bees is quite intoxicating, and we get to see that this plavite raktakantanam kujitescha patatrinam, even this raktakanta cuckoos, because their voice is very sweet, they are referred as raktakantanam. So they are singing, and there are other birds also, kujitei. So they are also whispering among themselves. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clarifying how in family life, Grihasthanam evokti pratyukti kolahala. So this kolahal or this talk is like when various grihasthas they come together and they have discussion or talk. So like that he's mentioning here. And as he is saying, because these humming bees, they are madandhana malina, and their gayakanam iva murchitani raga swaralapa murchana yatra. So because they are intoxicated, so they are like a guy, those singers who have various rag and alap. Text 30. Ahvayantam ivodhaste dvijan kamadukhe व्रजंतम इव मातंगे गृणंतम इव निर्जरे.
There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that Kailash will move with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailash Hill also does also.
So here it is clearly mentioned how the trees, like kind of kalpataru trees, they appear to be, their branches, they appear to call the sweet birds, like no. So here we'll just see in commentary nicely it is mentioned. लोके ही हस्तम उत्क्षिप्य उच्चै स्वरेण आह्वानम अर्थिनाम कुर्वन्ति. So in general, sometimes the people are called out uccai sware, with the loud voice. So similarly, here this unnata shakai, this branches of these trees, they are calling these birds that please come that way. And similarly, when these elephants they are passing through the hills, it is appearing as if Kailash hill itself is moving. So that's how these elephants are also very powerful. When the waterfall resounds, it appears that Kailash hill does also. So in general, we get to see if you go to some places there, such kind of uh, resounding of voice can be heard. Text 14-15. Mandare parijatescha saraleshchopaशोभितं तमालय शालतालेश्च उविदार आसनार्जुने युते कंदभे नीपैश्च नागपुन्नागचम्पकै पाटलाशोकबकुले कुन्दे कुरबकैरपि.
The whole of Kailash Hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandar, Parijat, Sarala, Tamal, Tal, Kovidar, Asana, Arjuna, Amrajati, mango, Kadamba, Dhuli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champaka, Patal, Patal, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Purabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees which produce flowers with fragrant aromas.
Yeah. So Chutamra Yone Chutamrayoho Nipakambayo Avantar Jati Bheda. So this Chud and Amra, these both are different varieties. Similarly, Nip Kambayoho, this Nip and Kamba, these are also two different varieties. And they're mentioning about, that is 15, yeah, combined. So Venu Kichakayoho Nira Sandra Sarandatvena Bhedaha. So it is mentioned that Venu and Kichak, between these two, what is the difference? That Venu, it has got the whole, sorry, Nirandra, it is without hole. But then Kichaka, that is Sarandhra, it is with the hole. So that is a difference between the two. Veni Kichakayoscha Nirandra Sarandhratvena Bhedaha. So one is without Randhra, another is with Randhra, or with the hole, without hole and with hole. Text section. Swarnarna Shatapatrescha Vararenukajatibihi Kubjakairmallikabhischa Madhavibhischa Manditam.
There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, Malati, Sujja, Mallika, and Madhavi.
Yeah. 16. Swarnavani Shatapatre Manditam. So here it is mentioned how there are this Swarnarni, this lotuses, they are of golden color, and Renuka Jati bhi ityatra Renuka Ela. Renuka, it is referring to Ela. Ela, that is cardamom, or in general we say ilaichi. Jati Malati. So Jati here it is referring to the Malati. Text 17. Panasodumbarashvatta Lakshanya Grodha Hingubhi Bhuhu Jairoshadhibhi Uge Rajapugaischa Jambubihi.
Kailash Hill is also decorated with such trees as Kata, jackfruit, Jular, banyan trees, Lakshas, Nyagrodhal, and trees producing asafoetida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and Bhojapatra, as well as Rajapuga, blackberries, and similar other trees.
So now again this description of the trees, and here it is mentioned Druma jati bhi ityatra jatir avantara bheda samanyam. So there are these various kinds of trees, and there are some differences between those. खर्जुरामृत खर्जुराम्रात कामरादे प्रियाल मधुकेंगुदे द्रुमजाति भी अन्यश्च राजितम वेणुकीचके.
There are mango trees, Priyal, Madhuka, and Inguda. Besides these, there are other trees like thin bamboos, Kichaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tracks of Kailash Hill.
Yeah, so we get to see so many various names of these trees, and some of the trees, the names we are familiar, some things we are not familiar because we don't get to see. But all these varieties are there, and sometimes we don't know exact the names that are there, uh, even though those trees may be there, but then we have different botanical nomenclature. So accordingly, we don't know these names. But then all these trees are there. Text 1920. कुमुदोत्पलकल्लार शतपत्रवनर्धिभिः नलिनीशुकलं कूजत् खगरुन्दोपशोभितं मृगैः शाखामृगैः क्रोडे मृगेन्द्रैरिक्षशल्यकैः गवयैः शरभैर्व्याघ्रैरुरुभिर्महिषादिभिः.
There are different kinds of lotus flowers such as Kumuda, Utpala, and Shatapatra. The forest appears to be a decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, wolves, lions, rickshaws, chandakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives.
Yeah. मोदादि समृद्धि हेतु भी सरसोत्पलम मधुरम यथा भवति कुजन्ति यानि. So because earlier there was discussion about Puram Rugana Shunga Visheshantvena Ukta Idanim Swate. So if earlier the discussion was there, again why it is mentioned? So it is mentioned as Navibhi Kastari Murge Kadali Shande Samrudani Avrutani Nali Ninam Pulinani Tahi Shrihi Shobha Yasmin. So here she is referring to the decoration or beauty. So there is, it is said that no fault of Punararukti. Why there is no fault of Punararukti? Because here they are separately described in comparison with the earlier description. And when it is said that Navibhi Kasturi Muge, so these deers, they have uh, in their navi, it is scented kasturi, they are known as kasturi mruge. Kadali shande, that is this banana trees. Samrudhani, avrutani. So with the proper rows of these trees, they are decorating, and that's how it is enhancing the beauty. Tahi Shri Shobha Ismi. Nandaya Gangaya Paristam Pariveshtitam. So this two rivers, and one of them here it is mentioned as Nandaya. So this is Ganga only. So Gangaya Paryastam, or it is circumambulating. So Pariveshtitam. Satya Bhavanyah Snanena Punyataramattam Sugandham Udakam Yasyam. So because Satya or Mother Sati, who is the wife of Bhavanya, she would regularly take bath here. So the glory Punyatara, it has become more auspicious or more holy, and it has Sugandham Udakam Yasyam. It is the water also Udakam of the river, Nanda river. It has become fragrant because of her taking bath regularly there. Text 21. कर्णान्तरैकपदाश्वासे निर्जुष्टं वृकनाभिभिः कदलीखण्डसंरुद्ध नलिनी पुलिनश्रियम्.
There are varieties of deer such as Karnantra, Ekapada, Ashwasya, Vruka, and Kasturi, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely.
This already we discussed in commentary. So here some of the things we are familiar. They may be nice flowers and all, but then some of the flowers like Shatapatra, lotus, all those things we may not get to see uh, because the those flowers they may not grow here due to atmosphere conditions or whatever other reasons. They are found there. Similarly, these varieties are there. So some we get to see here, some varieties they are available there. Text 22. Paryastam nandaya satyah snana punya tarodaya vilokya bhutesha girim vibhudha vismayam yayo.
There is a small lake named Alaknanda in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailash hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there.
Yeah. According to the commentary called Sri Bhagavad Chandra Chandrika, the water in which Sati used to bathe was Ganges water. In other words, the Ganges flowed through the Kailash Parvat. Now, to support this, how this Ganges is flowing through Kailash, Prabhupada is clarifying. There is every possibility of accepting such a statement because Ganges water also flows from the hair of Lord Shiva. So, we understand the whole pastime, how Lord Shiva accepted Mother Ganga on the request of Bhagirath Muni, and Mother Ganga comes and then Lord Shiva accepts her, and later we know that he mercifully releases her. Since Ganges water rests on the head of Lord Shiva and then flows to the other parts of the universe, it is quite possible that the water in which Sati bathed, which was certainly very nicely scented, was Ganges water. Text 23. Dadrushu tatra te ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanam saugandhikam chapi yatra tannama pankajam.
Thus the demigods saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alka in the forest known as Saugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Saugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers.
Yeah. Tatra giro vanam cha dadrushu yatra vane tannama saugandhikam pankajam bhavati. So they saw this forest and that forest is named as Saugandhikam because there there's lotuses, Saugandhik lotuses, they are growing. Sometimes Alaka is known as Alkapuri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailash. Therefore, the region of Alka referred to here is different from the Alkapuri of Kuvera. According to Viragacharya, Alka means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alka, the demigod saw this type of lotus flower known as Saugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. Prabhupada is quoting this Viragacharya wherein it is mentioned, Te devaha tatra giro tasya rudrasya alakam nama alketi prasiddham. So this is the place of Lord Rudra or Lord Shiva, famous as Alkapuri. Ramaniyam Purim Saugandhikakhyam Vanam Chapi Dadrushuhu. This forest of Saugandhik, which is famous by the name Saugandhika forest. Saugandhika namnon vartatam aha yatra vane Saugandhikam nam pankajam bhavati. So in this forest, this lotuses of Saugandhika, they are grown. That's why the name came. Verse 23. Yeah, so here we get clarity as Prabhupada says Alketi, that is Prasiddham Ramaniyam Purim. So that is Ramaniyam Purim, uncommonly beautiful. Text 24. Nandacha Alaka Nandacha Nandacha Alak Nandacha Sarito Bahyataha Puraha Tirthapada Padam Bhoja Rajasativa Pavane.
They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the rest of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda.
So that's what is mentioned as Tirthapad Padam Bhoja Rajasa Ativa Pavane. So how it has become Ativa Pavane, how it has become highly purifying, highly sacred, because Tirthapada, here Supreme Personality of Godhead is referred as Tirthapada, and Padamboja, his lotus feet, Rajasa, due to dust of the lotus feet. It has touched those waters, and that's why it has become very sacred, very pure. Text 25. Yayoho surastriyaha kshattah avaruhya swadeshnataha क्रीडन्ति पुंसः सिञ्चन्त्यो विगाय रतिकर्षितः.
My dear Chatta, Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water.
Yeah. See commentary. Purim Varnayati Nanda Cheti Chaturvi. For last verse it was mentioned in 4 verses. This Puri is explained, narrated. Sarito. For verse number 25. Yayor Vigaya Pravishya Kridanti. So these women, they enter into these rivers and they play Kridanti. But it is understood that even the dances of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alaknanda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, so whenever water or anything is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. So, someone would like to say why this is explained in this verse?
Because it is Ganges only.
Yeah, so last verse only the details are mentioned, but then in relation with these rivers, now Prabhupada is uh, in purport clarifying whole thing. The dances of the heavenly planets, polluted by thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. Two words are very significant in this connection. Rati Karshitaha means that the dancers become morose after sex enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they are not happy. So Prabhupada is clarifying that yes, even though it is mentioned as Rati Karshita, so sometimes Rati means uh, modern people, they are very happy. Yes, we are enjoying sex life. But then those who are on the higher plane, these people they are so, even though because of such kind of body, someone would like to say what kind of body, why they have to have this kind of, as Prabhupada mentions, bodily demand. Why here it is bodily demand mentioned?
Because heavenly planets is also material world only.
Yeah. So basically heavenly planets is Bhoga Yoni. So Bhoga Yoni means at least in here we have scope that yes, at least there is some suffering, some enjoyment, but then we have scope that we can have control. But there actually the life itself, the atmosphere, everything is surcharged with that kind of mentality of enjoyment. So for them it is more difficult, and that's why as a bodily demand they may accept it, but afterwards they are not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirtha Pad. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pad means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Lord automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirthapad because under their protection there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. So, what is our Gaudiya Siddhanta? So, Prabhupada says, Narottam Das Thakur says that not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. So, some of you are counselors. Here, Narottam Das Thakur says, don't go to different places of pilgrimage. How many of you take yatras to pilgrimage places? So, what is the reason? Even though Siddhanta Narottam Das Thakur is saying, no need to travel to various different places of pilgrimage. Why do we go then for yatras?
To associate with the sadhus.
Sorry, you can say again.
To associate with the sadhus, saintly people.
Yeah. What else?
Going to various places of pilgrimage, like especially Vrindavan, is a part of or ang of bhakti.
So very nice. So here we'll go ahead with the description, understanding. But then we don't go to various places of pilgrimage for the sake of associating sadhus there, even though you may have this nice understanding and that is there is nothing wrong with that. But then as per our sampradaya, chastity to our sampradaya, chastity to the mission of Prabhupada, we actually associate with those who are following this movement seriously. We take their guidance, we serve them. So purpose of our going is, whenever we are going to such holy places, we are going for the sake of preaching, so that other newcomers, they may get benefited. We are not in the mood of going and like associating their sakhi way, like no, understanding various philosophies or different paths. That is not our mood. Even if we want to hear from some sadhus, we actually hear from those whom our authority is recommending. Otherwise, there are so many challenges and current situation, all of you know. Otherwise, people get off track. So the point when Narottam Das Thakur is saying, no need to go to various places of pilgrimage. So that is clarified ahead. We are going simply for the sake of preaching purpose, that too as a seva. Otherwise, we don't need to go. Undoubtedly, it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as the result of his pilgrimage. What result one can get by traveling to the places of pilgrimage can be achieved simply by taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirthapad. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Who did this?
Prabhupada will
Yeah, we see Narad Muni, Prabhupada, all these people, what they are doing, because they have this implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord, so they are able to create sacred places everywhere, wherever they stay. Tirthi Kurvan Tirthani Swantastin Gadava. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe. And that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. So, when Prabhupada was taken to the place of Bauri, so what devotees were thinking that yes, we have brought him to such a nasty place. But what Prabhupada said? This is Vrindavan. So that's how the vision of devotee, and that's how he can purify that place. He can make that place a sacred place. And the reason that is mentioned here. Text 26. Text 26. Yayoho tat snana vibhrashta. विभ्रष्ट नवकुङ्कुम पिञ्जरं वितृषोऽपि पिबन्त्यम्बः पाययन्तो गजागजिः.
Anybody wants to read next?
After the damsels of the heavenly planets bath in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to the kumkum from their bodies. Thus, the elephants come to bath there with their wives, the she elephants, and they also drink the water, although they are not thirsty.
26. ययोरम्बो विगततृषोऽपि गजाः पिबन्ति तत्र हेतु तासां सुरस्त्रीणां स्नानेन विभ्रष्टं गलितं यन्नवं कुङ्कुमं तेन पिञ्जरं पीतवर्णं. So here, even though vigatatrushophi, even though these elephants vigata, their trusha or their thirst has gone, there is no thirst for them, but still what they are doing, yayoho ambho or ambha, the water of these two rivers, they are drinking pibanti. What is the reason? Tatra hetu, because surasrinam snanena vibrashtam galitam yan navam kumkumam, because these wives of demigods, Surasrina, they have taken their bath, and because of their bathing, the Navam Kunkumam, this new Kumkum, it has got mixed with the water, and water has become Pinjaram Pita Varnam, it has become yellowish, and that's why this elephants they are drinking that water. That is the reason mentioned. Text 27. तारहेम महारत्न विमान शतसंकुलां जुष्टां पुण्यजन स्त्रीभिः यथा खं सतडिद्घनम्.
The airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning.
Yeah. So here it is mentioned Yaksheshwar Purim hitva atikramya tadunam cha društva te deva aradurat batam dadrushu iti chaturtena anvayaha. So now from this fourth verse, here it is clarified how these people hitva atikram Yaksheshwarapuri, that is the city of Yaksheshwara. Yaksheshwara is Kubera, and when they atikramya or they crossed his Puri, then they saw Tad Vanam Chadrushta. Now they are seeing the place where Lord Te Deva Arad Durvatam. So from distance only they have seen that Vatam, that tree, and Dadrushu iti Katam Bhutam Manam Chitrani Malim. So what kind of forest or one it is, that is described. I think here one verse or two verses, only 27, that will be further mentioned in 28. That description is there in verse number 28. We'll first see the 27 and then we'll go to 28. But the airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. So Prabhupada ji is clarifying about airplanes here. All of you know about it. So we'll proceed. So he mentioned Siddha Lokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes because they are having mystic powers. With their mystic potencies, they can go as they desire, as per their will. The beautiful dancers, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets are compared to lightning. In summation, the airplanes with their passengers which came from higher planets to Kailash were very pleasant to look at. Text 28. Hitva yaksheshwarapurim manam saugandikam chatat drumay kamadugay hridyam chitramalya falachade.
While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Saugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desired trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the regions of Yaksheshwara.
Here this forest is described. Chitrani, Malyani, Falani, Chadascha, Patrani, Eshu, Te, Drume, Ridyam Sukakaram. So all these various kinds of flowers, fruits, leaves, everything, this is very much pleasing. Ridyam Sukakaram. They are all pleasing to the heart. Purport. Yaksheshwara is also known as Kubera, and he is the treasurer of the demigods. It is also stated here that the forest was full of desired trees, and Prabhupada is mentioning about Brahma Sahita. We learn how in the spiritual world, especially in Krishna Lok, the abode of Lord Krishna, we learn here that these desired trees are there. Similarly, we learn here that such desired trees are also found in Kailash, the residence of Lord Shiva by the grace of Krishna. It thus appears that Kailash has a special significance. It is almost like the residence of Lord Krishna. Chintamani prakrasat muskalpaluksh laksharuteshu survi. Text 29. रक्तकण्टखगानीक स्वरमण्डित षट्पदं कलहंसकुलप्रेष्ठं खरदण्डजलाशयम्.
In that celestial forest, there were many birds whose necks were colored reddish and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans as well as strong stemmed lotus flowers.
Verse number 18. रक्तकंटखगान कोकिल पक्षिणाम. We have discussed this Raktakanta Kaganam. These are the cuckoos. Anikasya Samaswaram. Purport. The beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. It is described herein that the lakes were decorated with lotus flowers and with swans who played and sang with the birds and the humming bees. Considering all these attributes, one can imagine how beautiful this spot was and how much the demigods passing through enjoyed the atmosphere. There are many paths and beautiful spots created by man on this planet Earth, but none of them can surpass those of Kailash as they are described in these verses. So, even though we may try to imitate the beauty that is there or that is heard of, but then because this is someone would like to share why we are, even though we want, we cannot imitate such kind of beauty on earth. As Prabhupada is saying, spots created a man on this planet earth, none of them can surpass. Is a question clear? Why we cannot imitate it? That's the question.
Because Lord Shiva resides there and he is doing so much tapasya. That's why the place is very beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. So as Mataji mentioned, so it is very important to understand unless and until there is a right leader, right personality situated. Even Chanakya Pandit says that one should not stay at such place where uh, right rules and regulations, right leader is not there, and other details are mentioned. So here we find that yes, because Lord Shiva himself is there, and because of him, because of his wife, she would bath. We heard how the river also became more purified, sanctified. So certainly, because of the presence of great personalities, it ensures that automatically surrounding becomes soothing, surrounding becomes auspicious. So it so happened during Mahabharat time when Kauravas and Pandavas they had this game of dice, Dyuta Krida, and after Dyuta Krida it so happened that Pandavas had to go to the forest, and then there was time when they were in Agyatavas, the period of remaining incognito. And as the period was getting over, like no, just few days were remaining, and Duryodhan he was simply frustrated, thinking that how is it that I sent my men everywhere with different kinds of uh, uh, like no, they will not be identified that these are my men or like that, and he did his best, but then still he was not able to find. So that time during the assembly he asked and that how to find out these Pandavas, and then Bhishma Pitama he narrated so nicely, saying wherever Yudhishthir Maharaj is residing, there you will find the cows, they are flourishing nicely, and nice description is given. So the point is, wherever we find that the personification of dharma or the rules and codes of conduct that are prescribed by the Supreme Lord are properly followed, there all this wonderful atmosphere situation can be created. And specifically because Lord Shiva, he uh, on this planet Earth, we find people are not so much dedicated. They are dedicated for various other purposes of karma jnana. But then, as we'll proceed ahead, we'll find that Lord Shiva is completely focused on the path of devotional service. He is exemplifying by his example, and that's why that kind of amazing atmosphere is seen there. Text 30. वनकुंज संगृष्ट हरिचंदन वायुना अधिपुण्य जन स्त्रीणाम मुहुर्उन्मतयन् मनः.
All these atmospheric influences unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and the blowing wind agitated the minds of the damsels there for further sexual enjoyment.
Yeah, so how elephants, when they flock together, actually they are rubbing their bodies against these trees, and that's how these sandalwood trees, they are creating wonderful fragrance around. And when there is wonderful fragrance around, that actually agitates the mind. वन कुंजरी संगृष्टा ये हरिचंदन द्रुमः तत्संबंधिना वायुना पुण्यजनस्त्रीणां अधि अधिकम उन्मतयन्. So their minds get more and more agitated because this Hari Chandana, this sandalwood trees, because of their Garshan or Sangrishta, so that is creating this wonderful fragrance there. Vanagajai, this forest elephants, they are causing this kind of atmosphere. Whenever there is nice atmosphere in the material world, immediately there is an awakening of the sexual appetite in the minds of materialistic persons. So, nice atmosphere, there are two choices. Either person can get into the best of the thoughts of meditating on the Supreme Lord, or there can be another thought meditating on the sexual life. So that's a Prabhupada says materialistic persons, and there immediately they awaken their sexual appetite. This tendency is present everywhere within this material world, not only on this earth, but in higher planetary systems as well. In complete contrast with the influence of this atmosphere on the minds of the living entities within the material world is the description of the spiritual world. So you have heard this in second canto, how Lord Brahma is describing, even though the ladies have such a wonderful body, their description of bodily characteristics, they are so agitating. But then still the men and women, they don't get into the sexual life because their minds are completely absorbed in glorification of the Supreme Lord. The women there are hundreds and thousands of times more beautiful than the women here in this material world, and the spiritual atmosphere is also many times better. Yet, despite the pleasant atmosphere, the minds of the denizens do not become agitated, because in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, the spiritualistic minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in the spiritual vibration of chanting the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasure in the material world. So, Vishya Vinivartante, as we know, Param Drushta Nivartate. So, because they are relishing higher taste, they need not go to the lower taste. So that's why because they have surpassed the lower taste. In other words, in the Vaikuntha world, in spite of its better atmosphere and facilities, there is no impetus for sex life. Okay. Text 31. Vaiduryakuta sopana vapya utpala malinihi praptam kim purushe društva the aradadrushur vatam.
They also saw that the bathing ghatas and their staircases were made of Vaidurya mani. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree.
Yeah. Now this is a so wonderful description. Even for bathing someone wants to go, staircases were made of Vaidurya mani. So, and water is full of lotus flowers. So, such a amazing, nice atmosphere. Vaidurya mani bhi krutani kalpitani sopanani. So, made of this Vaidurya mani. Yasu Palanam mala puntuya. Text 32. Sayojana shatotsedah padona vitapayatah paryakruta nirnidastapa.
That banyan tree was 800 miles high, and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds.
Yeah. So here yojana shatam, understand it is 100 yojanas, and padone sarvatah panchasaptati yojana pramane vitapai. So panchasaptati, that is 75 or 75 yojanas vistrutaha, spread around. When it is said paryak sarvatah kruta achala chaya in nirgatam nidamisman, so their shadow is spread, and because of that it is able to give the cooling atmosphere. Purpose is purpose. Generally in every tree there are bird nests, and the birds congregate in the evening and create noise. Here it is mentioned that there was no noise of birds because they are not making their nest there in the tree. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nest, and therefore it was calm, quiet, and peaceful. There were no disturbances from noise or heat, and therefore this place was just suitable for meditation. So someone would like to say, why is it so? In general, if tree is there which is giving nice shade, generally birds wants to reside there, have their nest.
Needed to facilitate Lord Shiva for meditation.
Yeah, right. It is clearly mentioned here, but because Lord Shiva, that is the place for his meditation, so there should not be any disturbance. And similarly, we find that in case of Sudyamna, ninth canto, it comes wherein that when he goes to the forest where Lord Shiva and Parvati are residing, so actually the people along with his followers, their gender gets converted from male, they become female. So as Lord Shiva had given benediction to Mother Parvati due to earlier some incidences. So similarly here we find that if Lord can make such arrangement for avoiding disturbance, then what to speak of, like, no, just for the place of that one banyan tree, it is not at all difficult for him. So that's how Lord has made the arrangement that it is free of disturbance. And as we'll proceed, we will understand how Lord Shiva is performing there, not only just meditation, but along with that, he is performing devotional activities, giving discourses to Chatushkumaras, Narad Muni, and how those discourses are full of devotional service that we'll find ahead. So that's why, for avoiding any other materialistic sound, it ensure that he kept it free of disturbances. Text 33. Tasmin Mahayogamaya Mumukshu Sharane Suraha Dadrushuhu Shivamasinam Tyaktamarsham Ivantakam.
The demigod saw Lord Shiva sitting under the tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all peoples. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger.
Yeah. Tyakta Amarsho Yontakaha Tatulyam. So he has given up the anger, but then for demigods he is appearing Yaha Antakaha Tatulyam, like a Antakaha, we can say one who is a destroyer in that way, as a time who is a destroyer. That way demigods are able to see Lord Shiva there. But in this verse, the word Mahayogamay is very significant. And Prabhupada is explaining here how what is yoga and what is Mahayoga. So, because here he is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, that's why he is mentioned as Mahayoga. So, various kinds of meditation, remembering, smaranam. These are 9 different kinds: Sharanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Thus, there were many devotees engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu under the big banyan tree. The Sanskrit word Maha is derived from the affix Mahat. The affix is used when there is a great number or quantity. So Mahayoga indicates that there were many great yogis and devotees meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu. Text 34. Sanandanadyair Mahasiddhe Shante Samshanta Vigraham Upasyamanam Sakhyacha Bhatra Guhyaka Rakshasam.
Lord Shiva sat there, surrounded by persons like the master of the Guyaksas and the 4 Kumaras who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly.
So when here it is mentioned as Sanandanadyahi. So anyone knows what are the names of Chatush Kumaras?
Sanat, Sanatan, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar.
Yeah. So Sanandan, Sanatan, Sanak and Sanat. So here Sanandan is mentioned, but then apart from that, Sanandanadyayi, that is Sanandan and others, that is this 4 Kumaras, they are mentioned as. So starting with this verse, in 5 verses, now Maitri is going to speak about the specialty of Lord Shiva and how Kubera is Sakhya Kuberen Upasyamanam. His friend Kubera is engaged in serving the Lord Shiva. That will be described. So we'll see those details in 5 verses. Purport. The personalities sitting with Lord Shiva are significant because the 4 Kumaras were liberated from birth. It may be remembered that after their birth, these Kumaras were requested by the father to get married and beget children in order to increase the population of the newly created universe. But they refused, and Brahma became angry, and then Shiva was born. Thus they were intimately related. Kubera, the treasurer of the demigods, is fabulously rich. Thus Lord Shiva's association with Kumaran and Kubera indicates that he has all transcendental and material opulences. So when we speak of transcendental opulences, these opulences are because of what reason? This verse, why Prabhupada is mentioning that he has all transcendental opulences. Because he is associating with Kumaras, and material opulences because he is associating with Kubera. So actually, he is the qualitative incarnation of Supreme Lord, therefore, his position is very exalted. So, here, just based on association, it is mentioned. Otherwise, anyway, Lord Shiva is such a great personality. So, therefore, it is mentioned he is very exalted. Text 35. Vidya tapo yoga patham astitam tamadhishwaram चरन्तं विश्वसुहृदं वात्सल्यालोकमङ्गलम्.
The demigod saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as the master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was the friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious.
लोकस्य मङ्गलं हितं तप वात्सल्य स्नेहात् आचरन्तं. So how he is behaving, acting, so that is mentioned as tapa, vatsalya, sneha. So this is very important. Otherwise, if such a great personality becomes angry, then as we saw earlier, he can even cause the destruction of all planetary systems along with their rulers. So lokasya mangalam hitam. So he is acting in such a way that it is very much auspicious and it is for the welfare of all. But Lord Shiva is full of wisdom and tapasya, austerity. One who knows the modes of work is understood to be situated on the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless one has achieved full perfection knowledge in the ways and means of performing devotional service. So, what is this modes of work? Basically, here when it is explained as modes of work, it is to be understood that there are various ways. Just like we know about people try to attain the heavenly planets by fruity activities, karma kand process. There are processes of knowledge and all that. So there are various paths. So, but then best path is to practice devotional service. If one has the best sadhya, so accordingly a person performs respective sadhana, then one can attain to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And certainly one should know these various modes of work, otherwise person may get entangled. So that's why vidyamcha avidyamcha ubhay, both one should know. Lord Shiva is described here as Adhishwara. Ishwara means controller and Adhishwara means particularly controller of the senses. Generally, our materially contaminated senses are apt to engage in sense gratificatory activities. But when a person is elevated by wisdom and austerity, the senses then become purified and they become engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Prabhupada mentions other places in first canto how one can serve the Supreme Lord with the purified senses. And how to purify the senses, that is mentioned here by wisdom and austerity. Lord Shiva is the emblem of such perfection, and therefore in the scripture it is said Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So he is teaching how to engage 24 hours a day in the service of the Lord. Therefore he is described here as Lokamangala, good fortune personified for all conditioned souls. So just to ensure that we understand how he is good fortune personified, Rupaji has given this purport, starting with understanding of how there can be various ways, but one who is engaged in the pure devotional service of the Supreme Lord, he can set the best example. And that's how Lord Shiva, being greatest of the Vaishnava, he has set the wonderful example how to engage 24 hours a day in the service of the Lord. Lingam cha tapasavishtam vasmadandajataajinam angena sandhya dhrucha chandralekham cha bibratam.
He was seated on deer skin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was made with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation.
Yeah. So how his body was like a sandhyabra rucha rakta varnena angena. So that is explained. But then along with that, on his body there was this bhasmadi lingam. So his body was decorated with the ashes. Generally, we know how Lord Shiva is putting ashes on the body, and Chandalekham Chapibratam. And there are these different marks also. We see Chandra Lekha, that is, he is holding this uh, moon on his head. Sign of half moon, symbolic representation. Lord Shiva's symptoms of austerity are not exactly those of a Vaishnava. Lord Shiva is certainly the number one Vaishnava, but he exhibits a feature for a particular class of men who cannot follow the Vaishnava principles. So when it is mentioned these symptoms like his body is smeared with the ashes and other further also some of the symptoms will come. So they are like particularly not to be followed by Vaishnavas. The Shaivites, the devotees of Lord Shiva, generally dress like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnava rituals. So because Lord Shiva, he is very kind, he gives shelter to Bhuta, Preta and other such kind of beings. So certainly such people, those who are attracted by the mode of ignorance, they may be involved in such activities. Lord Shiva himself, he is not involved into those activities. But then the followers on whom he is very showing his kindness, his mercy, they may indulge in such kind of practices. And some people, they even may take the name of Lord Shiva, how Lord Shiva drank poison. So they take such poisonous items, ganja and other things, intoxicants. Text 37. Upavishtam dharvamayam rusyam brahma sanatanam naradaya pravochantam uchate shunvatam satam.
He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narada, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth.
Ratinam asanam rusi tasyam brahma pravochantam. So he was properly seated on asana, But then the discussion that was, it was in relation with the Brahma Pravochantam. They were discussing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Lord was sitting on a mattress of straw, because such a sitting place is accepted by persons who are practicing austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. So, as we discuss about significance of asana, those of you who got initiated, you must have sat for the sacrifice yajna, and there you must have observed that yes, there is asana and there is achman, and some system is there by which a person can uh, perform those rituals appropriately. So similarly, here it is mentioned that how such sitting places accepted by persons who are practicing austerities for gaining understanding of the supreme truth. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that he was speaking to the great sage Narada, a celebrated devotee. Narada was asking Lord Shiva about devotional service. So here Prabhupada is clarifying what is the greatness of Narad Muni, what is the greatness of Lord Shiva, and what is their discussion. So even though the subject matter is Vedas, but the even though they are discussing about knowledge of the Veda, but then subject matter is devotional service. So Prabhupada says, Shiva is the supreme instructor and the great sage Narada is the supreme audience. Therefore, the subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti or devotional service. Text 38. Krutongo krutoro dakshine savyam padapadmam cha januni bahum prakoshte kshamalam asinam tarkamudraya.
His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. In his right hand, he held Rudraksha beads. This sitting posture is called Virasana. He sat in the Virasana posture, and his finger was in the mode of argument.
So, savyam padapadmam dakshine uro krutva. So when person actually puts his left leg on the right uro janga, so uro krutva vinyasya janu cha sarve bahu krutva dakshina bahu prakoshte manibandhasthane akshamalam. So we find that how he is holding the manibandhasthane, that is, as we know, akshamalam, that is, we call it as his akshamalam, means we call it as, because it is of Lord Shiva or Lord Rudra, we call it as Rudrakshamala. So that he is holding. So in that position, they are saying Taduktam Yoga Shastra, that Prabhupada has given in purport, so I am not discussing it here. But the sitting posture described herein is called Virasana according to system of Ashtanga Yoga performances. In the performance of yoga, there are 8 divisions such as Yam, Niyam, Asana, all that, controlling, following the rules and regulations, and practicing the sitting posture, etc. So Ashtanga Yoga, Prabhupada is just mentioning 2, but then all are 8 processes. Besides Virasana, there are other sitting postures such as Padmasana. So Virasana, as here you see, it is clearly mentioned about how that left leg was placed on his right thigh. So, and left hand, those details. But then in case of Padmasana, we find how both the legs, they are like left leg is on the right thigh and right leg is on the left thigh. So this different postures Prabhupada has mentioned, Padmasana, Siddhasana. Practice of these asanas without elevating oneself to the position of realizing the super soul Vishnu is not the perfection stage of yoga. So it is mentioned without. So unless and until one comes to the understanding of coming to realization of super soul. So why here it is Bhagwan is not mentioned? Can someone say? Why super soul is mentioned? It is Paramatma, super soul. So because we are discussing about this yoga process, yoga purpose is to realize super soul. When we talk of devotional service, the purpose is attainment of Bhagwan. Lord Shiva is called Yogishwara, master of all yogis, and Krishna is Yogeshwara. So Yogeshwar indicate that no one can surpass the yoga practice of Lord Shiva. So here Lord Shiva is a topmost in yoga practice. But when Yogeshwar, Lord Krishna, he is topmost in yogic perfection. So we can understand what is yoga practice and we can understand what is yogic perfection. Someone would like to say what is yoga practice and what is yogic perfection? So basically, when it is mentioned as yoga practice, basically we saw Ashtanga yoga, various yam, niyam, all that. So in that, Lord Shiva is the topmost. No one can surpass him. When we speak of yogic perfection, that there are Ashta Siddhis, we know Anima, Laghima, all that, Mahima, Prapti. So all those Siddhis that Lord Krishna is topmost. No one can surpass him. So that's how Prabhupada explained Yogeshwara and Yogeshwara. Another significant word is Tarka Mudra. This indicates that the fingers are opened and the second finger is raised along with the arm to impress the audience with some subject matter. This is actually a symbolic representation. So this is just like we say Tarka Mudra. So that's how it is indicated that second finger is raised. This is second finger. Text 39. तं ब्रह्मनिर्वाणसमाधिमाश्रितं व्युपाश्रितं गिरिशं योगकक्षां सलोकपाला मुनयो मनुनाम् आद्यं मनुं प्राञ्जलयः प्रणेमुः.
All the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages.
In this verse, the word Brahmananda is significant. The Brahmananda or Brahmanirvana is explained by Prahlad Maharaj. When one is completely absorbed in Adokshaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the sense perception of materialistic person, one is situated in Brahmananda. Prabhupada quotes here how Brahma Samhita 5.1, how Lord is Ishvara Paramakrishna Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So how his form is Sat Chit Ananda, that is eternity, full of knowledge and full of bliss. Samadhi means particularly concentrated attention. So one who has achieved the qualification of always meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be understood to be always in trance and enjoying Brahma Nirvana or Brahmananda. And Lord Shiva has exhibited this picture. Here, Yoga Kaksham. Yoga Kaksha is the sitting posture in which the left thigh is fixed under one's tightly knotted saffron colored garment. Also, the words Manunam Adyam, they are means a philosopher or one who is thoughtful and can think very nicely. Such a man is called Manu. Mananashila Manavaha, Arthat, those who are contemplating always, they are called as Manavaha, and that's why it is mentioned here as Manunam Adyam. Lord Shiva is the topmost of all those who are great thinkers. Lord Shiva is described in this verse as the chief of all thinkers. Lord Shiva, of course, does not engage in useless mental speculation, but as stated in the previous verse, he is always thoughtful regarding how to deliver demons from their fallen condition. So here further Prabhupada explains about how Lord Shiva himself came as Advaita Acharya, and then he also wanted to deliver people, fallen people, and he invited Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna to appear, and Lord Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya. So similarly, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, is always thinking about the deliverance of the fallen souls as exhibited by Lord Advait Prabhu. Text 40. सतूपलभ्यागतमात्मयोनिं सुरासुरेशे अभिवन्दिताङ्घ्रिः उत्थाय चक्रे शिरसाभिवन्दनम् अर्हत्तमः कस्य यथैव विष्णुः.
Lord Shiva, lotus feet were worshipped by both the demigods and demons. But still, in spite of his exalted position, as soon as he saw that Lord Brahma was there among all other demigods, he immediately stood up and offered him respect by bowing down and touching his lotus feet, just as Vaman Deva offered his respectful obeisances to Kashyap Muni.
So Prabhupada is giving details in relation with what are the proper etiquettes of behavior, and as here the example is given, Arattama Kasya Yathaiva Vishnu. So just like Lord Vamana, Lord Vishnu, he is offering respects to Kashyap Muni, his father. So similarly, Lord Shiva is offering respects to his father Brahmaji. So Prabhupada says how actually Lord Shiva's position is, his category is greater than living entities. Brahmaji is in the category of living entities. But then still Lord Shiva is following proper etiquettes. And here Prabhupada gives example about Lord Krishna offering respects to his mother and father Nanda Yashoda, even offering respects to Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was his elder. Text 14. तथा परे सिद्ध गणा महर्षिभिर ये वै समन्दात अनुनीललोहितं नमस्कृतः प्राह शशांक शेखरं कृत प्रणामं प्रहसन इवात्मभू.
All the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narada and others, also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva.
महर्षिभिः सहिता ये नीललोहितम अनुवर्तन्ते. So now this नीललोहितम, these other people, they are also following Lord Shiva, and tepi tasmai vandanam chakru. They are also offering respects, offering obeisances to Lord Brahma. Evam sarvai namaskruta praha कृत pranamo devai yasmai tat. But Lord Brahma was smiling because he knew that Lord Shiva is not only easily satisfied, but he easily irritated as well. So not only Ashutosh, but he becomes angry also immediately. So what are the incidents? What are the reasons? So he was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood because he had lost his wife and had been insulted by Daksha. In order to conceal this fear, he smiled and addressed Lord Shiva as follows. So here Prabhupada is giving clarity why Lord Brahma is smiling. Actually, he is in that fear, but to conceal that fear, he is smiling and addressing. And now, when he is addressing, these prayers are very special. Text 42. Brahmovacha jane tvamisham vishvasya jagato yoni bijayoho shaktehe shivasya cha param yat tad brahma nirantaram.
Lord Brahma said, My dear Lord Shiva, I know that you are the controller of the entire material manifestation, the combination father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, and the supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation that is as well. I know you in that way.
Yeah. यद्यपि त्वं नीचवत् मां नमस्करोषि तथापि तवैश्वर्यम् अहं वेद्मि इत्याह जानीति. Why this verse is starting jane tvamisham vishvasya? Because Lord Brahma is saying, even though you understand that I am not superior or equal to you, I am actually in a lower position to you, nichavat. But still, Mam Namaskaroshi, you are offering respects to me. Tathapi Tavaishwaryam Aham Vedmi, but I know your opulences. Tvam Vishwasya Isham Jane, you are the controller of the Vishwa or universe. Tatra Hetu. Okay, that is mentioned here. But although Lord Brahma had received very respectful obeisances from Lord Shiva, he knew that Lord Shiva was in more exalted position than himself. Lord Shiva's position, Brahma Sahita, Yatha Akshir, Dadi Vikara. Okay. The example is given that the milk in yogurt is not different from the original milk from which it was made. So, very famous example, and in that respect, we have to see the way here it is explained. But if we just see from the perspective of this verse itself, so it is mentioned that it is like Shaivite kind of understanding. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, here he mentions that this is the understanding of Shaivites. That is, they see Lord Shiva to be the topmost, and their understanding is how Lord Prakriti and Purusha, they are the forms of Sadashiva. So, and that's why here, even though it may appear that like no, Lord Shiva is addressed as Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Prabhupada is clarifying in purport that yes, in this respect, this is the difference. Text 43. Tomeva Bhagavan etat Shiva Shaktayoho Swarupayoho Vishwam Sujasi Pasyatsi Kridan Urnapato Yatha.
My dear Lord, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it, and annihilate it by expansion of your personality, exactly as a spider creates, maintains, and winds up its web.
So how this Srushtyadi, Srushti or Utpatti, Palan and Samhar, all this Srushtyadi Leela, how it is done. So it is mentioned as a spider creates, maintains, and winds up its way. But in this word, the word Shiva Shakti is significant. Shiva means auspicious and Shakti means energy. There are many types of energies of the Supreme Lord. Parasya Shakti, Vividaya, Vashuyate, Swabha. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar are called Gunavataras or incarnations of material qualities. In the material world, we compare these different incarnations from different angles of vision. But since all of them are expansions of the Supreme Auspicious, all of them are auspicious, although sometimes we consider one quality of nature to be higher or lower than another. The mode of ignorance or tamoguna is considered very much lower than the others. But in the higher sense, it is also auspicious. How it is auspicious? Prabhupada gives example that the government has both educational and criminal department. An outsider may consider criminal department inauspicious, but from the government's point of view, it is as important as the education department, and therefore government finances both departments equally without discrimination. So if you have any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, next class will continue from text 44. Any of you have any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
In the previous verse, in the translation, it is said that Lord Shiva is the controller of entire material manifestation and combination father and mother of cosmic manifestation. Prabhuji, can you elaborate it little bit?
Yeah, so that is true. Exactly. If you see the whole material world, it is under the control of Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. So, like no, through them only everything is managed. And when here it is mentioned that and the Supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation as well. So for that we discuss about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, wherein he is saying that yes, this is Shaivite way of understanding, wherein Lord Prakriti and Purusha, they are like uh, their understanding it is due to Sadashiv. So that's what we just saw. Is it clear? Okay, I'll just read commentary 1 minute. We'll get understanding. यद्यपि त्वं मां प्रणमसि तदपि परमेश्वरेण ऐक्यत्वात् तव ऐश्वर्यम अधिकम इति. So even though you are offering obeisances to me, but because you have you are one with the Supreme Lord, and that's why tava aishwaryam, your opulences are greater. This is Shaiva Matam Ashrityah Janeti. So this is based on the understanding of Shaiva Mata. Shaivaha Akhalu, that is again details are mentioned. So is it clear what I am trying to say, Mataji? And further, how Tvam Vishwasya Prakruta Aprakruta Lakshanasya Sarvasyesham Sadashiv Rupam Jane Yada Jagada Prakruta Prapanchasya Yoni Bijaho Param Jane. So all that details are mentioned. But then this verse here it is mentioned that is this is Shaiva Mata.
It's okay, Prabhuji.
Is it
Thank you.
understood or any difficulty in understanding? Or you are not able to understand this wording? What is the question exactly?
Yeah, I mean, how he is the combination father and mother of cosmic manifestation? Or we have to, as you said, we have to understand it that it is the Shaivite way of understanding.
Yeah, actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying same thing, that this Shaivite, they have this thinking that Lord Prakriti and Purusha as the form of Sadashiva, which we just read. This is Prakriti and Purusha combined. Here you saw, as it is mentioned here, that combination of father and mother of the cosmic manifestation. So what is Prakriti? This is mother. What is Purusha? That is father. So combination of father and mother. So that is what is mentioned in the Tika. what is said here? प्रकृति पुरुषान् सदाशिव रूपत्वेन मन्यन्ते ततः अयम् अर्थः. That is the meaning here. That's why it is mentioned. That's it. Other details, then I don't know, means exactly.
Okay, Prabhuji. Because
Because
generally,
what I understood question that why he's mentioned as combination of father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, because that is the Shaiva opinion that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says.
okay.
Other than that, if you have a question that how he is control of entire material manifestation, that also we saw how both Lord Shiva and Mother Durga, they are in charge.
Yes. Yes,
And in
Prabhuji.
relation with this also we discussed Supreme Brahman beyond the cosmic manifestation. So Prabhupada gives example about Kshiram Yatha Dadivikara Shesha Yoga. So both understanding we have seen from the Shaiva point of view, and as Prabhupada is explaining why he is considered here supreme. The perspective is in relation with Kshiram Dadavik, that Brahma Samhita was.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
So any other questions? Okay, no problem. So next session, next Saturday we'll have further discussion from this verse 43, and we'll complete the chapter and we'll begin with the chapter 7. Chapter 7, there are more prayers and more details. So we'll see the section which requires more time. We'll give more time for the prayers, and other part where there is description, which is just easily understandable, that will proceed fast. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी. हरि हरि बोल. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.